Well,
right.
we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, it can only get better from here. This is Lightning Round live on Bettor Sports Network and the Fantasy Lorb YouTube. Kevin Tompkins, Andrew Cooper, Britt, Flinn, gang. We're live on BSN. How we doing?
It's during the day.
Phenomenal.
What do we do during the day?
Yeah,
I know.
It's bright out. Yeah.
I'm excited. This is awesome that this is not the dead of night for Coop, where Coop is like, I gotta go after like 14 minutes. After a long, hard day. We are here with the masses. Everybody either is working or working from home watching us. We certainly appreciate every single one of you. Today, we are going to hop into a best ball mania draft. I'm going to hop into it right now. So if you guys want to hop in, we got a little time to kill here beforehand. So certainly jump into there. But Coop, you gotten into the best ball mania streets here?
I have not done any best ball mania yet. We've been doing a lot of drafts with Fantasy Alarm members first. So you guys out there, if you're not signed up yet, use promo code Fantasy Alarm on Underdog. Get signed up. They'll match up to 100% of your deposit, up to $100, and join us on the Fantasy Alarm Discord. That's what we're doing this week. Howard Bender's in one. We're doing one tomorrow night with us, Colby Conway, Jorge Martin's joining us. It's just a good time. We're drafting with all Fantasy Alarm members, the whole gang. So make sure you're signed up for that. Hit me up on DMs on Twitter at Coupe Fiasco, and I can get you all set up with the Discord and everything. But yeah, I have not gotten into Best Ball Mania yet. I'm super excited to argue with you guys about who we're picking, whether it's going to be 17 wide receivers in a row like Kevin wants, or whether it's going to be tight ends like I want, or whether it's going to be quarterbacks and stuff like Britt wants. Like, we're just going to have to make it happen. So I'm excited.
I'm here to be the voice of reason.
Yeah.
But how can you be the voice of reason if I'm
reasonable, Kevin?
Well, that's the fun of it all, right? It's the oxymoron of the situation.
And look, we didn't have to wait that long because we are at the 109. It seems like that's if there's gonna be a draft slot that I've gotten, it's literally I've gotten 108 through 110 about a billion times here. So yeah, the first round. So if you're in a tournament like this, it's you shouldn't really be beholden to ADP because you can get a different subset of players. Like if you want to take Bijan Robinson 101, knock yourself out because in a tournament like this, it's gonna get you unique with different groups of players with Bijan Robinson. If you take him at his ADP, which is at 107 right now, you and a bunch of other people are going to have the same group of Jalen Waddles and, Mark Andrews or TJ Hawkinson, like that group of guys. But you're getting a different group of people with taking Bijan Robinson at 101. So don't be beholden to ADP. That's very important, at least to start off here in the first round.
Yeah, and lucky for you, this is a good spot to take a wide receiver. We'll have to see. Sometimes I see a little Austin Eckler sneaking down there, which, I mean, last year he was a super megastar. With Austin Eckler, are you guys worried at all about Joe Lombardi being gone, going to join the Broncos? He's been the guy historically that fires it at the running back a million times. Or is Austin Eckler just a guy who's going to be Austin Eckler no matter what? Where are you guys at with him?
Well, I think we saw last season with Kellen Moore and Tony Pollard. I mean, he in training camp specifically lined him up in the slot to use him as a pass catching back. I don't really think that changes that much with him going to the Chargers. I think that his rushing volume may go down, but as long as he gets those targets, he's going to be fine.
Targets all that matter. I mean, the guy's never had a 1,000-yard rushing season. I don't care. Neither is Alvin Kamara, who played with Joe Lombardi back in 2013 or so. No, he was Joe Lombardi was when Joe Lombardi, put it this way, Joe Lombardi, when he was with the Lions, even calling the plays there, the running backs combined for 152 targets. And
we're talking of Joik
Bell and Theo Riddick and Reggie Bush for a couple games before he got hurt. So Joe Lombardi now going to the Denver Broncos. Wonder if maybe the running back there will catch some balls, right?
Samaje Perine to the moon.
Samaje, yeah.
Right.
Might be able to sneak him in.
We're up here in a couple picks. So, I mean, Travis Kelce kind of slipped a little bit. I don't know if the elite tight end naysayer and Andrew Cooper may
No,
have a little something to say.
I'm willing to do that. I mean, Kelsey, I don't take him at like 3 where he goes at times, but if we get him here, then we just do Travis Kelsey and one other guy. Like if we could do like Travis Kelsey and Chigakonkwo, I'm all set with that. So yeah, if you want to do that,
that's perfect.
yeah,
He fell to us.
I think it's got to be Travis Kelsey. Travis Kelsey won a lot of people leagues last year. And looking at the first round, I'm actually doing an article about the first round in best ball tournaments. The top 6 last year, you're talking Jonathan Taylor, McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. There was a pretty steep cliff after that top 6. This year, I don't think that cliff really begins until like the 9th pick. And I honestly think Devontae Adams is probably the first rounder I think is undeserving of being a first rounder. I don't know how you guys feel about that with the move from obviously Aaron Rodgers 2 years ago to Derek Carr last year. Now Jimmy Garoppolo, who we know is not exactly the most adept at throwing a deep ball. What do you guys think about Devontae Adams? Is that kind of the one maybe landmine of the first round you're not touching, or are you guys still in just based on the volume?
What do you think, Brett?
So I'm pulling up what he said today or yesterday.
On the I believe the Ringer.
Yeah. So he said people can't say that will never be the narrative again, blah, 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 blah. And he says, you can erase all the numbers. You can just write in, he didn't need Aaron Rodgers. And he says, even if I went and played like dog shit next year, they can't say it. So that to me is a little bit of a red flag. I'm like, does he want to be elite again this year? Or does he think that he can't be? Is he like kind of putting a little caveat in there in case his season is bad? So yeah, that does worry me just slightly.
We're back up here. Jonathan Taylor is kind of staring us in the face here.
Britt's, I don't know. Britt's the one fading Taylor. I'm down for
you want to go him and Mahomes.
I'm down for Taylor, Waddle, Mahomes. You guys pick any of those 3.
Stack it. Just stack it. Let's get Mahomes.
Wow.
Wow.
The attack of the scroll.
Feels weird.
Really, you're not kidding.
Feels weird.
New mouse.
Now we can do, because for anybody out there that doesn't do a ton of these, you basically, the numbers have shown. TJ Hernandez over at 4for4 does a lot of work, great work that makes our lives a lot easier by pulling the numbers from previous Best Ball Mania championships, kind of the different builds, right? And the high advance rates are guys that have 2 or 3 quarterbacks or tight ends. Now you can argue till you're blue in the face whether it's better to have 2, whether it's better to have 3, but the truth is, like, 1, you don't even have enough to get through bye weeks. And when you get to 4, you're mismanaging your roster space to a certain degree. There are some teams with 4 tight ends that have gotten by. Obviously, some sneak in with 4, but you want to live in that world of 2 to 3. When you get Travis Kelsey or Patrick Mahomes, that means you only need 2 quarterbacks. You only need 2 tight ends. So now we can really focus on other positions. We don't have to worry too much about it. Just one serviceable player, because the reality is, if Mahomes and Kelsey aren't good, doesn't matter. We're not winning anything, right? So we've made our bed.
And you know, thinking about this, Pat Kerrane, who won $2 million at this at Best Ball Mania 3 last year, has made some good points about thinking about it like an auction. If you like, say you want to go running back, and think about it. If you have to spend a 102 on Christian McCaffrey, typical auction, you're spending about $60 out of like a $250 budget on McCaffrey. And then you're coming back to take a second round running back, you're spending another $35-$40. So think about it like that, where if you spend that kind of money on running backs, you can't really spend up on many more running backs. Like, you're going to be going into like the $6, $5, $4, dollar running backs the rest of the way. So maybe kind of thinking about that, like with an auction kind of perspective, with positional allocation, especially best ball, I think it's really important. And yeah, these are typically, onesie positions where you can draft, if you get a later round quarterback, you're likely having to draft 3. With Mahomes, with Kelsey, now we're set at 2. Right. We can draft running backs and wide receivers to our heart's content.
And it's really that studs and duds philosophy, which is great, right? If you're in an auction, it's even better when you're in best ball, because you don't have to figure out when these lower tier players are going to go off. If they go off, like, you're set. So you actually get more benefit by doing a studs and duds in a best ball tournament than you even do in an auction.
Yeah. So based on the numbers I've seen, 2 to 3 quarterbacks, 2 to 3 tight ends. You want technically there's some advanced rates where people have like 10 wide receivers. I did a build the other day, but you want to keep it somewhere in the 5 to 9 range of wide receiver. And for running backs, 4 is probably about the lowest that you ever want to go. Typically, again, probably between 5 and 8 is the sweet spot. So that's what we're aiming for. But to Kev's point, if our next 2 picks are both running backs, then we would probably keep it to a lower number of running backs and load up at wide receiver. That's where you need the help. So
Yep.
Just keep that in mind as you go through. Your strategy has to change. It has to be fluid with this draft. If you had told me we're drafting Kelsey and Mahomes to start this, I would have said no.
And Ramondre.
Right. And Mondre, bring him on down. I'm down for it. I'm here.
I'm big on Ramondre this year. I think he's going to be the 3rd rounder that gets into the 1st round next year.
Yeah, there was so much smoke before the draft. I'm a Patriots fan, so obviously I'm listening to the podcast. I'm listening to Evan Lazar and all the great beat writers in the area, and they're saying how much they love Bijan Robinson and how Jahmyr Gibbs obviously played with Bill O'Brien, and they had Kendre Miller in for multiple visits. Well, they didn't draft any running back. A team that historically, will draft a running back in the 1st round and then the very next year draft one in the 2nd round. They didn't do it. So I'm intrigued, man, that maybe they are going to commit to just a 1-back system, which we saw Josh McDaniels do that with Josh Jacobs. So it's not crazy to believe that maybe they have finally found a back they're comfortable just using the 1 guy instead of using like 5.
Which totally flipped everything on its head. Everybody last season was like, Josh McDaniels, it's going to be committee. Like they brought in all these former Patriots. It's going to be committee. And that narrative was totally flipped on its head. So you can't always rely on historical precedent to set your team going forward because things are fluid.
Yeah. Right. And then wait till week 1 this year when Ty Montgomery comes out and catches 7 passes.
I'll have him. That 22nd round Scott Fishbowl pick. Hey,
you've been sneaking some time on?
Not in this, but last year I had me and Ben Gretsch were the only 2 people in Best Ball Mania to draft, or Best Ball Mania, Scott Fishbowl to draft Ty Montgomery. So it was looking like, I think we might have to either we take a plunge at Jahmyr Gibbs and just hammer wide receiver later, or we can grab Debo now and then kind of just play that BPA game.
Britt, make the call.
Spoiler alert, Debo may be on my list of people to avoid at ADP coming out tomorrow Gibbs. On Fantasy Alarm.
Grab him. All right, classic. This is the Oppo Kev Tompkins strategy. I know you, of course, draft so many wide receivers that you're familiar with every tier, but rare occasion here. Now so exactly like we talked about, if we go running back, now we have to hammer wide receiver big time. Yep. So
this is my olive branch to both of you, by the way. Make this draft with no wide receivers. So it's like when you're in a relationship and a guy's going to say, oh, I'll do this. No problem. I'll go, weed the backyard. I'll do this. But you know what? I'll remember this for later.
We have a lot of these drafts coming up. Yeah. You're doing the dishes in advance right now.
Yeah. Yes, smart. Exactly. I'm changing the diapers. I'm doing everything right now. And we can get those sweet wide receiver avalanches in the first 5 rounds and in future drafts.
I mean, so looking at this board here, there's a few guys I like, man. I mean, I'm down with either Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. Like DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a good player wherever he goes. The thing about drafting Devontae Adams in the 1st, we talked about it earlier. Like if you're in on Devontae Adams, I feel like it's kind of difficult to be out on DeAndre Hopkins. It's a guy that in a vacuum can create for himself. He can make contested catches. He can find separation in the red zone to score those touchdowns. I don't see why Devontae Adams needs to be light years ahead of DeAndre Hopkins.
And for everybody worried about his production with a backup quarterback while Kyler Murray gets healthy, he produced last year with a backup consistently. Like this guy, he's a lock and load no matter who's under center.
Yeah. And if he gets moved, even better.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, and by the way, don't think I don't have the week 17 schedule up here too, because as we know, week 17 is the only week that matters.
It's crazy. I mean, we already have, it's like the Chiefs play the Bengals. So we already have the Chiefs all stacked up for that week 17, right?
Yeah. We'll definitely have to get a Bengal on here. Maybe we go Kelsey Irv Smith, and that's our little correlation there. But yeah, Lions Cowboys certainly up there. the game that might be like a 20-point over under, Falcons at Bears. That might be the running back grinder's wet dream there.
Is it in Chicago or in Atlanta?
It's in Chicago.
Oh yeah, that's running back all day long.
There's a couple I like. You know what could be a sneaky one if you believe that Sean Payton and Joe Lombardi can turn things around in Denver is Kellen Moore and the Chargers going to Denver, right? That could be a solid. I mean, again, you have to bank on these division games not being garbage and also on the Broncos turning around, but that could be a hot one.
I like there's two sneaky games I like. Raiders at Colts and the Steelers at Seahawks. If we think Kenny Pickett's going to take a step up in year 2,
we don't. But maybe. I mean, he's got
Spoiler alert.
he's got all the weapons. He's got all the weapons. So the thing, there were maybe I'm the guy that was bashing Tua last year, which last year I was in on Tua because of the weapons. So maybe I should have some Kenny Pickett.
Looks like we're going a little Pittman action here, huh?
Love it, dude. Wide receiver 1.
Yep. Let's go.
We're going to have to hammer. Mike Evans is going to be our wide receiver. You know what?
It's Miles Sanders sitting right there, dude.
Never heard of him.
Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook. They're still like.
Well, doesn't Jahmyr Gibbs count as a receiver? I mean,
he is like half a receiver. We have 1.5 receivers and 1.5 running backs.
The thing is, for because we're going to do a bunch of these, I can't wait to do one. I'm finally in on Kevin's strategy this year because just think about it. We could have drafted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could have drafted 5 wide receivers and then took Miles Sanders as our top running back. And I actually don't mind that. I don't mind taking Sanders or Joe Mixon or Dalvin Cook in this range. So like this is the year where I'm finally on board for wide receivers, and obviously the board falls to us in this draft in a way that we have to take, tight ends and quarterbacks. So classic best ball draft.
And that's another thing with the way that this lineup is placed. You have to have one extra receiver in your lineup every week. So if you wait on receivers, it gets real tough. But I like what we're doing because we did get Kelsey and Mahomes, so that helps us there. But little bit different strategy, but if you don't get Kelsey and Mahomes, it really helps to take receivers a lot earlier because of that extra position spot.
Kev, I know you're fully on board with the Jordan Addison train here, but I kind of want to take Chris Godwin.
I do too.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We're good with that, Britt.
I wanted to preempt that. I am in on Jordan Addison. Britt's in. Britt, you're in on Jordan Addison in best ball?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
And Howard Bender's fully in. Personally, and I don't think the ADP, like a lot of times we start saying this time of year and the ADP does flip. I personally believe that Jordan Addison should be going ahead of Jackson Smith and Jigba in 100%. Best ball and redraft formats, simply because of the opportunity. With JSN, I like him as my number 1 wide receiver in Dynasty. But we just took Chris Godwin. He's the perfect example of what I think is going to happen to Jackson Smith and Jigba, where Mike Evans is likely, Mike Evans was the split end for the Buccaneers, and Deshaun Jackson was the flanker, which meant that Chris Godwin had to work his way onto the field through the slot. And then as they progressed and Deshaun Jackson aged out and left the team, Chris Godwin became the flanker that moved to slot for 3 wide receiver sets. That's it took 2 years for it to happen. That's their trajectory I see for Jackson Smith and Jigba, where day 1, it's going to be Mike Evans at split end and Tyler Lockett at flanker, and JSN probably going to play a large snap share, but maybe only 70% of the snaps at most, just because he's not going to be out there for 2 wide receiver sets. Eventually that will flip. It could even be by the end of the year this year. But I think right from the rip, Jordan Addison's going to be the guy opposite of Justin Jefferson, which gives him the leg up in this particular format for me. It's about opportunity. We don't know for sure who the best wide receiver from the rookies were last year, but Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave got the best opportunity. Did they not?
Yeah. 100%.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, it could, you never know over the long term, but for short term, we're looking for opportunity, and Jordan Addison has it right away.
Yep. Scampers, does Kev ever give up that cool color scheme for his neighbor? Is he a bad friend? You know what? Well, maybe we can rotate that around. I never say never. Scampers.
Yeah, I'm fine with whatever.
Dude, switch me out for like some orange, dude. I'm not really a big green guy,
Okay, I'll work it with the orange. That's
mix me some orange in, dude. I got this I mean, it is kind of like an Incredible Hulk type scheme, but that's not really my vibe, bro. Give me something spicy.
So with this build here, obviously you went quarterback, tight end, and then running back, and now we're kind of filling out wide receivers. With Pittman and Godwin, I think we've at least got as much as we can project targets and project role in the offense. I think with this, we have to maybe take more big swings at wide receiver, as far as maybe guys that are better in best ball, or guys that maybe we can project out to, I think about it this way, where in 2024, who are going to be the guys that we draft in the 3rd round next year, or the 2nd round? And possibly Treylon Burks could be one of them. I think Jahan Dotson certainly has a dark horse to that too. I think we know
who Britt wants here.
If he's there, and we don't take him,
and I think this is the perfect time to take him. He's at the top of my board right now. Let's not even say his name. I know you already mentioned. Let's not say
it. Who shall not be named.
We got him, ladies and gentlemen.
Here.
We got him. Go ahead, Britt. Tell everybody about Treylon Burks.
Treylon Burks hunts hogs and kills them with a knife with his bare hands. He's also the best at breaking separation. He's big. He's 6'3". He's 250. Like, this guy can run. He can separate. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 in Tennessee. They didn't bring in any competition. Basically, the only other competition in Tennessee is Chigo Okonkwo, who we also stan. But I think Burks is going to get about a 35% target share. And yes, even on a low volume passing attack, that still averages out to be about 159 targets over the course of the season. Boom, baby.
There you go, dude. Like,
true, and yeah, that's pretty true. That's true, and yeah, that's true. That's true.
Unless you believe in Kyle Phillips, which, hey, who knows? But like, when you look at
our generation's Adam Humphries,
like Chris Moore is not coming out of nowhere here. Like, it's, it really is wide open for those guys. We should just finish this draft off going with Chig and Ryan Tannehill and getting that Titans stack too. Load it all up.
You really want to do a Titan stack though, like with Tannehill?
I mean, we have Patrick Mahomes is going to be our starter every single week.
There's unique, and then there's that.
I mean, dude, what if we win $3 million?
What if Tannehill's the guy you need?
What if Tannehill gets benched or traded?
That's my concern.
I don't know though. I think he's good enough to not get benched. He's a fine player. It's crazy.
That's the key word. Fine.
It's crazy to talk about that guy and the success he's had, given that he wasn't even a quarterback in college. He was a wide receiver, and they were just like, whatever. Made him a quarterback. He played for like a decade in the NFL. And now how can we look at that? It's crazy what fantasy football does to your mind. Like, I'll sit here and I'll be like, Corey Davis is such a bust. He's just like a 7-year veteran in the NFL, multi-millionaire with a starting job for a team in New York, and I'm just like, stinks.
The targets are there.
It makes your mind crazy. This game we play.
15 seconds. We're on the clock. Deontay Johnson,
do it.
Yeah, targets are going to be there.
I like Marquise Brown,
and he only had 4 drops last year. So
we really should have taken James Conner there though. Dude, our running backs. We drafted 2 running backs, and all of a sudden we just said. I mean, like, one of our running backs is a rookie backup. You know what I mean? Like, James Conner, I think he's going to be rock solid in.
And that's the thing about the dead zone. There's a dead zone, running back dead zone, sure, but the dead zone, just with running backs being pushed down as a whole, it's a lot more palatable this year to be able to pluck a couple of these guys from. We still got. I know Alvin Kamara. That whole situation's fluid. Connor's still there. Charbonnet, Dillon, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson's still out there. P. Ryan, like, there's still guys that are, these are the guys that would be going in maybe the 6th or 7th round last year that now we're closing into the 9th round that are here in 2023.
Yeah, we're gonna need to sneak some pass catching backs on there. I don't mind P. Ryan. I don't mind like a Devin Singletary even later. I think they signed that guy for a reason. He was
correlation with Treylon Burks for week 17.
Sneak it in there, dude. So
don't worry, I didn't memorize the week 17 matchups or anything.
You have to. There are some names, but I don't know. I would have liked to get James Conner there. That's all.
I hear you.
If you want to take some big swings, Alvin.
Yeah, that is big swing. Such a fluid situation.
Because as soon as we get word on what's going on, his ADP is either going to drop like a stone in the ocean, or it's going to go up 4 rounds.
Yeah, I know, dude. It's remember that year that Tyreek Hill left like the voicemail and stuff, and then they
Yeah.
drafted me Cole Hardman. What the
And
weeks
you're getting him in the 9th
they
round.
get him like the 9th round and just like, oh, whatever, you know. And then they were just like, oh, by the way, that was all a big nothing. Oh, and we're also going to extend him to like a 3-year, $70 million deal. I was like, what? I've never seen somebody's ADP skyrocket so quickly, because not only were they like, they were literally like, oh, that's big nothing. By the way, a massive extension full of guaranteed money. Like he went from 9th round to like the 2nd round, and he should have been in the 1st round. So there's, I know from what we know, from what we hear from the fantasy football lawyer Drew Davenport, who is a blessing to this community, that he believes there's something coming down, but every once in a while they just say, the NFL just says, eh.
And depending on how long they continue it and how many motions and hearings, et cetera, like this thing could drag out over the course of the year. And the NFL's not going to do anything until those legal proceedings are completely finished. So that's another thing, that it could just take forever.
We're on the clock. I think it would be very nice social media clout if we could sneak in AJ Dillon ahead of the next drafter, which is the Quad Father.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think that's just, you know, chef's kiss, like perfect.
We're making enemies.
You get some lineup floor for AJ Dillon. If you look at it, that team had very few. Or before we get to that, I just want to mention, do you guys remember the star caps incident in the NFL with the Vikings? Exactly to Britt's
It sounds
point.
familiar.
It was these two, the Williams, the linemen, 2 linemen named Williams.
Oh, Kevin and
yes, I think they were brothers, Pat Williams and Kevin
Williams,
right?
defensive tackles.
Yes, and they were using these things called star caps, which were like, you know, when you go to the shady supplement store, they're just like, you know, on, you know, they're maybe even at the gas station, you buy them, and they were using those, and there was this whole thing where it went back and forth, and then it had to go to like the Supreme Court and everything. And just like Britt mentioned, it dragged out for so long that it happened, and then they played the second half of the year, and then they played the whole final year. And then it finally got resolved in court, and they were suspended, and then they just retired because they were already like 32. So they were able to successfully just completely dodge this entire suspension just by pushing it out. So, I mean, it's on the table. It's not outside the realm of possibility that maybe they do just push it out, and then eventually say the Saints lose 7 games, then they say, okay, you know what? We'll eat the suspension now.
We're back up here. Thoughts on Tyler Boyd? Are there a correlation with the Kansas City Chiefs? No,
he's just not playing full enough snaps.
We got 10 seconds. So we got to figure.
I think I'd rather take Elijah Moore from that group, or Juju. Why not take Juju?
Yeah, I like Juju.
Okay.
If we're gonna take a guy that's a low ADOT type player, why don't we take Juju, who at least is going to be in the Jacoby Myers role, where he'll play split end. Sorry, he'll play flanker and he'll play slot. Like he'll be a full-time guy, or at least close to it. Whereas Tyler Boyd, back in the years when he was like 2018, 2019, getting 148 targets, he was the guy that was playing every snap. And then once they brought in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, he was on a limited snap share. That's why in Dynasty, honestly, I worry about guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown. When that team's built, are we going to look back and say he was just fancy Tyler Boyd? You know, so that's what I've been concerned about, at least for the time being. With Jameson Williams suspended and what they have going on, he's going to be a full-time guy. But at the end of the day, he'll probably settle in as a slot guy. That's my opinion. Some people look at him and say, hey, he's a super mega star, so he'll play every single snap. It could also go that way, but that's my take.
We need more sexy young players, by the way. I just want to say that.
Yeah, of course.
The noted ageist.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to get up into like we're gonna have to go to the Sizzler after this.
Yeah, throw a star,
the early bird special.
Throw a star. Dinner.
Throw a star on Kendre Miller, right? Why can't?
I'm gonna throw one on Antonio Gibson too. Just one.
In what way is he a sexy young player? Go to the wide receivers. Oh, look at tight end quick. Actually, we got to get one more tight end before the world ends. Chig.
Boom.
We got one guy there with a 0 at tight end, so I think we have the dodge. Possibly one, but this could be
We'll pull the whole board up. Let's see where Chig is on the entire board. Because sometimes go back to not that. Go back to the
full. Yeah, he's a little bit down there.
We might be all right.
Well, do we want to grab a running back or do we want to grab our second tight end?
Let's grab Chig. Let's make Coop happy. I got Traylon Burks.
Maybe,
Coop needs Chig.
and maybe we should pull. Let's pull the board up just to get a little peek for everybody at what's going on with all the teams here.
Yeah, you guys got
After
your
this
stuff.
pick.
I got rocks. I'm the kid and Charlie.
We'll take a
Brown.
running back here, dude. I'll let Chig ride
No.
one more round.
No, we ain't getting. No, he's not coming back. I guarantee you, if we don't draft him here, he's gone.
Yep.
All right, get him.
Beautiful.
And now we don't have to draft another tight end. Look at that.
Ever.
Just as we predicted
Even if there's a fire.
10 rounds ago.
Exactly. So let's we'll recap our team here. Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Ramondre Stevenson, Jahmyr Gibbs. My heart died a little bit inside after the 4th round without that splash of orange on the screen in front of Tompkins II. But I digress and we move forward. Michael Pittman, Chris Godwin, Traylon Burks, Deontay Johnson, AJ Dillon, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Chig Okonkwo. I'm not going to try to pronounce his actual name.
Love it.
I'm
very surprised.
Me do that.
If you pull the board back up, just look at the overall teams. The current trend, this bucks the current trend where there's only one team that started just at the very top. One team that started with 4 wide receivers in a row, or even 3 wide receivers in a row. Like I've been seeing so many teams just blast wide receivers that this is kind of strange to see. I've been used to seeing more orange up there, to be honest.
Yeah, there's been a lot of value late. No, go ahead, Kevin.
No, you go ahead. You're started.
I was just going to say there's been a lot of value late. And I noticed that when you pulled up the board when we were like in the 5th or 6th, I'm like, typically the ones that I've done, there have not been this many receivers left in this section of the draft. And so, yeah, Coop's absolutely right. It's kind of weird.
A little bit.
It's all right for us.
And I will say too that, if you're going to draft ideological and draft a bunch of wide receivers, now really is not the time to do it. There's still that's a lot of stuff that's unsettled with backfields, because if you're going to have to go into the weeds, so to speak, to draft your back end running backs, like nothing's solidified right now. And yes, this is when you can get an edge, but the most efficient time to be able to go 0 RB or draft a bunch of wide receivers.
Kendra Miller sniped right before us.
I'm fine with Roshan Johnson
I'm down with Roshan, but and there's no one else really, so we kind of got to take him. But the problem that the difference maker for those 2 players for me is that we look around at the mobile quarterbacks and what happens with the running backs on those teams. The mobile quarterbacks throw to the running back less often. The bottom 3 teams in targets to the running back last year were the Baltimore Ravens, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Chicago Bears. One of those 3 teams haven't gone, right? Mm-hmm. And they also vulture the touchdowns. We've seen Lamar Jackson. Jalen Hurts was 2nd in the league in carries inside the 5-yard line of any team. So if I'm sitting there and I'm looking at Derek Carr as the quarterback and Justin Fields as the quarterback, and any sort of half PPR, full PPR format, I want the running back playing for the guy that's going to actually throw it. That's why I wanted Kendra Miller so bad there. But again, who knows which of these guys is going to get the actual playing time or not, right?
Yep.
True story.
I mean, because it's
all
like
depends on that Alvin Kamara situation.
I think the Alvin Kamara, if it's Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, and Kendra Miller, I think I'd rather be in the Bears situation where it's Roshan against Khalil Herbert and Donta Foreman. And the Bears coach just came out and said, we have 3 guys, and in the modern NFL, you need 3 guys, and we don't necessarily have a starter. I love that, right? Ambiguous backfield. So,
and it pushes our prices down, and you take the cheapest one. That was basically what the Miami Dolphins were last year, because you could take Raheem Mostert as the cheapest option with Sony Michel, and Myles Gaskin was way down there, but and Chase Edmonds as well. He was the most expensive, and Raheem Mostert turned out to be the back to own. And now obviously Jeff Wilson got traded over there too. So if you took a flyer on him with San Francisco last year, you're pretty much golden. If you had those 2 on your best ball team as your back end running backs.
Let's take a little peek at the quarterbacks just to make sure we're not getting caught with our pants down here. Plenty of guys. Derek Carr. I mean, I'm kind of interested. Why not?
He's got weapons for sure.
Of that crew, what do you guys think? Like the question of the day, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this. Like, so you have a guy, Patrick Mahomes. You're expecting him to be in your lineup. I mean, it's 17-week season. You're hoping that he's going to be in your lineup 13, 14, 15 weeks, realistically. do you want the safest possible guy that can offer a floor for the one bye week and for the weeks where Mahomes might not show up, or do you want to go as high upside as possible with the thought process being, that if the guy's going to crack the lineup over Mahomes, he needs to do something special. Where do you guys typically fall on that? Obviously, Derek Carr would be the safe pick, but he just went. I don't know. What do you guys think for a tournament like this, where it's a big tournament?
I'm kind of always shooting for upside. I don't really like, as much as I say that I'm risk averse, I don't really like safe when it comes to quarterback because that's very boring.
I still think we can wait on the sorry, Britt. We're up right now. I still think we can wait on quarterback because if there's a bunch of guys we like, we can just take our pick of them after. Alec Pierce, how do you guys feel about him, or Marvin Mims?
Yeah, I mean, I like Hyatt, Pierce, or Wan'Dale Robinson. Like, why not go for a situation where we can get let's because we have Pittman. The reason I think Wyatt or Wan'Dale Robinson is, I mean, there's a possibility one of those guys could lead that team in targets. Marvin Mims is not going to lead the Broncos in targets this year. I would bet, just with Judy and Sutton and Dulcich and Tim Patrick, I would bet my bottom dollar that he doesn't. But why can't Wyatt? Why can't Jalen Hyatt? Why can't Wan'Dale Robinson?
Yeah, and if Anthony Richardson's going to lift this offense up, we've got the top 2 targets on that offense. So, better and best ball, if he's going to make big plays, they're going to go to Pittman or Alec Pierce. So, and then possibly, I know Britt's boy, Jelani Woods.
Baby boy Jelani.
Yeah, the
disc golf champion ever.
What do you think about Jaden Reed, Kev? He's your Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, like it's scheme, they're scheme versatile guys. He certainly fits that mold. He can play all 3 wide receiver positions. So it's about him getting on the field. And I don't know if he's going to do it right away, but I still think he does work in here. Now we're back up, by the way. We can still take Wan'Dale Robinson if we want to push quarterback up another round.
Yeah, let's do it. I like Wan'Dale.
But yeah, I mean, the scheme versatile guys, because Watson can play all 3 positions, so can Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed. That's what Matt LaFleur preaches. He just wants guys that you can just move around like a chess piece. So, Reed was a high riser going into the draft process, and Green Bay grabbed him the 2nd round pick. They have a great track record of grabbing 2nd round wide receivers, all going back to like Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings. They obviously took Christian Watson a couple picks after the 1st round in the 2nd. So, we'll see if that tracks here for Jaden Reed.
Yeah, and I will say our good buddy, friend of the show, Austin, over at Campus to Canton, those guys do those crazy Devy leagues where you actually get points for the guys in college. He's been on Jaden Reed going way back since he was like coming out of high school, and he's been following this guy the whole way. Loved his profile. Basically said that at Michigan State, it's just not an offense that's conducive to putting up big numbers, but he even scored like 10 touchdowns one year with them. And when he saw the draft capital for a guy that he's liked this whole time, he couldn't have been more pumped. So if he's excited, guys like that have been following these guys for a long time, if they are excited by it, then I'm excited by
it. Definitely.
Stamp of approval.
Yeah, that for me, like, especially because, just like in the NFL, if you land in the wrong spot in college, like take Jelani Woods, for instance, he landed with Oklahoma State. They don't use the tight end. He transferred out to Virginia where he, had to learn the scheme and get integrated in 1 year. And in that 1 year, he had his best season and then he got drafted. Like sometimes that happens. So you got to keep your eye out for those type of situations where maybe these guys aren't in the best position to succeed. Stephon Diggs at Maryland, but when they get to the NFL, obviously the situation changes.
Right. So
can you pick it?
Yeah,
I gotta like it.
I didn't want to say anything, but that was the guy I had targeted there. So
after the slander earlier,
it's funny thing about these drafts though. It's like, I didn't like it 30 minutes ago, but conditions have changed. We also have Deontay Johnson, gives us a nice little correlation there. Not that, for those at home that, again, don't do these a ton, we talked about earlier about the composition of your team, 2 to 3 quarterbacks, 2 to 3 tight ends. Another thing you want to do is stacking, there's correlation. It's been proved that it works. And what we mean by that is pairing your quarterback with your wide receiver, things like that. But you don't want to reach too far. That's the thing. If you reach to complete that stack, it negates any benefit. Use it more as a tiebreaker. So if you're sitting there between two quarterbacks and you really don't have them ranked that far apart and you already have one of the wide receivers, then you stack it up, right?
I'm muted, but Coop, did you say that things have changed?
Things have changed.
Information, man. New shit has come to light.
New shit has come to light. We have Deontay Johnson. Now I'm all of a sudden on board with Kenny Pickett. It's also round like 1 million. So
Yeah, what round is it? My screen is so tiny
We're in the
that honestly
16th.
I
We're
can't
in the
even see.
16th.
we're getting pretty deep.
Yeah.
This draft is flying. There's a lot of sharp gamers in this one. So I like
Kinda
Everybody
extend it
knows
out
what
a
they
little
want.
bit.
yeah.
No,
How's
you're
that?
fine. I think it's
That
more my
better?
display. I'm just an old lady. I need my glasses.
We got to talk about these guys. Leonard
mean,
Fournette.
We're up and there's a running back here that I'm just enamored with and will probably be on like half of my teams this year.
Is it
It's
Zach Evans?
No, it's Jeff Wilson.
Yeah.
Ah,
He's-
okay.
He's set to be because Raheem Mostert, he obviously has the speed. He can break off big touchdowns. He also gets hurt fairly often. But what he's not going to be is if there's a pass interference in the end zone, they're not going to send down Raheem
That
Mostert.
A-chain.
Right. They're not going to send down A-chain. They're not going to send down Raheem Mostert. It's going to be Jeff. They're not going to have Tua with all his issues with the concussions and stuff. They're not going to have him do it. So just think about that. If somebody grabs a hold of Tyreek Hill and drags him down, and the coach gets to pick anybody he wants to go down and score a 1-yard touchdown, it's going to be Jeff Wilson. And anytime that happens in best ball, he's in your lineup. So I love that pick. I like taking any of those guys. Anytime it's a muddied backfield, just give me whoever's cheapest.
Yeah, I'm gonna like Jeff Wilson, Mostert, I'm gonna have so much of all three of those guys. Like it's just perfect. It's the perfect ambiguous backfield, and they're all I think they're appropriately priced. You're baking in A-chain's upside. And then Wilson and Mostert are just like forgotten about, and it's great.
Right. And now I got to ask you guys here with the guys that are unsigned. One of them just went, Kareem Hunt. Leonard Fournette still floating around. Are you willing to take stabs on those guys? In the past, it's obviously burned people where you think Le'Veon Bell is going to get signed. You think these
Will
guys,
Fuller.
LaShawn McCoy. There's a lot of guys where they're, Will Fuller, man, that was crazy. But yeah, a lot of these guys, it comes back to burn you. But then on the flip side, sometimes these guys just hang around and sign. LeGarrette Blount, a couple times there, basically was like cut by the Eagles, floating around, scores 18 touchdowns for the Patriots. So sometimes these guys do catch on, sometimes they don't. Are you ever drafting Fournette or Kareem Hunt? Britt?
I would draft Zeke before I would draft either of those two. I think that Zeke has a much better pathway. But we've seen in the past, Donta Foreman popping up again out of nowhere, like mid-season. There are always these floaters, like in free agency on practice squads. But I think with Fournette's issues and, Hunt's as well, I think it's hard to sign them for as much money as they're wanting. So I'm steering clear of them.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a training camp injury or something like that to be able to put these guys, on a roster. And I don't want to have to deal with the what if. If there's anything I don't want a dead roster spot.
And especially in a slim build like we have going on right now.
Right. I want to be able to have all 18 of my players playing. Obviously injuries are going to happen, but I want to be able to, things I can control, drafting guys that aren't on teams that the market is clearly soured on them. So that's kind of where I draw the line a little bit. If they fall and they fall, that's a different. There is never, if these guys are going to fall the 18th round, I'm going to draft them. Like it's not like I won't just.
Can we take Tyquan Thornton here? Let's go with speed, raw speed.
Hundo.
He's we're up in one more pick. So yeah, my thoughts on Kareem Hunt is this. At this time of year, I look at it and I say, okay, with his ADP, people are drafting him in the back of their mind saying he's going to go be a pass catching back somewhere, right? So they're already doing that. When he does sign on to be pass catching back and part of some muddied backfield, I don't think his ADP is going to go that much higher. So I don't think you're going to get that much of an advantage, like say drafting him now than he does sign. And that's the whole idea is you draft him and then later in August, when people are still doing this competition, his ADP is going to be a lot higher. I don't think that's going to happen. It could happen with a guy like Kamara or somebody facing a suspension or something like that. But with Kareem Hunt, how high is his ADP going to go? Like, where would he even sign that his ADP would skyrocket? I can't even imagine a spot.
Like
It's
Cincinnati,
unless
maybe
barring
but,
injury.
I mean, yeah, it's
Cincinnati,
going
I
to take
guess.
a Mixon suspension, or it's going to take, the Saints needing another body in that backfield if Kamara is suspended. Like, I think it's just Hunt is a very, very tough sell for me because, obviously he stayed and he signed a contract with the Browns. We know he obviously got suspended a few years ago, but, he kind of, took that money. He could have been a top back, but he paired with Chubb for a while, and now he doesn't really have the opportunity to be a top back anymore. And that's the thing with these veteran backs. They want
Hey,
this.
we're on the clock. How many RBs do we have?
5.
We have 5.
Mm,
Could do 268. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Zach Evans just taking his flyer on a guy or Dwayne McBride.
yeah.
Well, I like to take Zach Evans because
Yeah, I like Zach
I like
Evans.
him.
Dwayne McBride
like-
caught 5 passes in his entire college career.
right.
And
he
we
is
still don't know
basically
what's
our
going on with Cook.
generation's. Yeah, he's our generation's Alfred Morris. So
Jordan Howard, right?
pretty much.
Yeah.
And the Rams backfield's ambiguous too. I mean, Cam Akers, sure, but is it going to be him or Kyler? Keep in mind, Zach Evans was like the top rated prospect, I think, in like 2018 or 19 coming out of high school. So like we know he's clearly talented, played at LSU and, for whatever reason, obviously got drafted with low draft capital, but lands on a Rams team where he could potentially make some noise.
And I look at with the just getting back to those like running backs like Kareem Hunt and those guys, what's probably going to happen with him now, the more I think about it, is you have these teams every year that clearly aren't going to win anything. They're doing like a bridge year. They're kind of tanking, right? The Texans in recent years, basically they just hang around and right before the season, they look around and say, okay, who's still sitting there? We can fill out our depth chart with a bunch of guys just to help us get by. And that's how they sign the Rex Burkheads and the Phillip Lindsays and those guys, right? I could see a team like the Cardinals that are clearly doing a bridge year, just waiting and whatever scraps are left saying who still wants to play football at the vet minimum, right? And that's when Kareem Hunt's going to have to decide if he wants to play at all or not, right? So I think teams like the Cardinals, there's a few guys in that spot. I mean, the Texans potentially still in a position. I know they already did Singletary for that, but there's a few teams that clearly aren't winning anything. And I think they're going to be the ones that just say, hey, you know what? Come on over. You can play for us, get us through the year, right? And you can make some money and then maybe even prove you deserve another contract somewhere else. So I could see a Kareem Hunt going to like the Cardinals, in which case I wouldn't be interested whatsoever.
Right.
No.
Yeah, we still got a little bit of time here, so we can go through some of these rosters here and just kind of maybe give our viewpoints here. And let's just go through ours here, just kind of an overview at the end here. We did go with two tight ends, 2 quarterbacks, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, obviously the star pairing there with Ramondre Stevenson, Jahmyr Gibbs. No wide receiver until the 5th round. Like I still like how they're shaped up. I think maybe that Jahmyr Gibbs pick could have been a Deebo Samuel or even a DeAndre Hopkins there.
Absolutely, because I look at it and looking back at it, we like Jahmyr Gibbs, but if that was a wide receiver there, I would have felt fine taking Miles Sanders or Dalvin Cook or Joe Mixon and just saying,
there's even like Dameon Pierce,
even Damian, and he just saying let it the chips fall where they may.
You have to play the 2v2 game with. Would you rather have Jahmyr Gibbs and Chris Godwin or one of those wide receivers and Dameon Pierce, Mixon, Cook?
Now, on the flip side, you're hoping that Jahmyr Gibbs is a rookie Alvin Kamara, where like it didn't matter. Mark Ingram had 1,500 yards from scrimmage and 12 touchdowns. Kamara's rookie year, Mark Ingram was wide receiver. He was running back like 8, right? Like he had a monster season, but Kamara was so good that he had 1,500 yards and 13 touchdowns. So he was running back 3, right?
Yeah.
So you're hoping that David Montgomery could be a Mark Ingram, but Jahmyr Gibbs is just so good, and that's why they took him in the first round, that you're
Right.
just getting this monster. So I did like Gibbs at the time, but in hindsight, seeing what was available later, I'm on board. I would have probably taken Debo there, but it's easy in hindsight, this game.
But Gibbs is part wide receiver, though, so it counts half and half.
He could be. I mean, he could very well be worth it. He might not. It's just a matter of like what's available when, right? Like we could have, instead of taking that loser Treylon Burks, we could have taken. I'm kidding. I love Treylon Burks. I actually do love our team. So yeah,
It's nice.
It's solid. That dude could be a $3 million team. Just saying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of value that we got in that wide receiver run, like a lot of value there.
Yeah, Michael Pittman, Chris Godwin. I mean, no, they're proven producers. Treylon Burks, I think, obviously is the clubhouse leader to lead that team in targets. But if he doesn't, we still got Chigakonkwo. So we got our bases covered on that extremely, extremely fruitful Tennessee Titans passing game. So at least, we got that to hang our hats on here. But Deontay Johnson also, I think he's a little bit undervalued. I mean, 8th round, I understand, last season, the whole with what happened with Kenny Pickett's rookie season. But, and then people are, I mean, look where George Pickens is going. George Pickens is going at 6'11". So he's going a round and a half ahead of
no sense. Makes no sense. If Deontay Johnson just scored like 2 or 3 touchdowns by accident, he would still be going.
He'd be a 5th rounder.
4 or 5. Yeah. And now looking at this, like when you have Chris Godwin and you have Deontay Johnson, who are kind of target hog type players, they give you a good floor. That's part of why I didn't really want to draft Tyler Boyd. Like if we had a bunch of high risk guys already, and we just wanted somebody that was going to offer a little bit of a floor just to make sure our lineup isn't disgusting on certain weeks, then maybe you drafted Tyler Boyd. But we had enough safety, I think, at that point.
My argument for that was not even a player take related. It was really
week 17.
Week 17 correlation that how many people are going to have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins that go in the week 17 in the best ball fit, but how many are going to have Tyler Boyd with Mahomes and Kelsey? Like I feel like that would be more of a unique play, and not even having those two guys. But if we have other guys, then we can, and Higgins and Chase put up duds, then we're looking pretty good. I mean, I understand week 17 is a long way. You got to play, you got to get there first, but being able to set your team up previous to that, it's the whole thing. Draft like you're right. Our bets are that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are superstars. They are great. Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce sort of lifted up by Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is the new quarterback hotness in 2023. Chris Godwin, will take the shorter targets from Baker Mayfield. And
Baker Mayfield quarterback hotness.
Yeah. AJ Dillon scores 15 touchdowns.
Why would we take Tyler Boyd in a shootout with the Chiefs if we could have Juju Smith-Schuster going to the Ralph Wilson Stadium in Buffalo to play on New Year's Eve?
When we've got Ramondre Stevenson, who's going to gobble up touchdowns. And
that's Ramondre Stevenson season, baby. Let's go. So everybody out there, just want to get this out there. We're doing these drafts. Not this one. This is Best Ball Mania. This is a big tournament. You got to do ridiculous things. But we're doing these with the Fantasy Alarm members over in the Fantasy Alarm Discord. So right now, we have a few promos going. My favorite one, promo code COOP. COOP gets you 50% off the next 6 months. Half off. This is for people that are drafting in May. These promo codes usually aren't around. It'll be like 20% off when we get to August and all the casuals come trickling in. Right now, 50% off. So promo code COOP, that's at fantasyalarm.com. And then for Underdog, use promo code FANTASYALARM. They'll match up to $100, 100% of your deposit. Do those two things. Meet me over in the Discord. You can draft with us. We got a draft going right now with the legendary Howard Bender. We're doing another live draft with only Fantasy Alarm members and a couple special guests like Colby Conway, Jorge Martin. It's going to be a blast. So make sure you're all signed up with those so you can draft with us because we're getting started right now.
Yep. And if you can't do Underdog, we'll be doing other best ball platforms as well.
We're doing best ball 10s with the Scott Frankels of the world that live in Vegas. Jerry who lives in Hawaii, no fantasy alarm member will be left behind. We'll wherever you are, Siberia, we'll do smoke signals, whatever we have to do to get you in on a best ball draft with us. We'll get it done. All right. Carrier pigeons, whatever has to be done.
Imagine drafting wide receiver to be a carrier pigeon. I'd do that.
Mike Tyson could do it. He's like big into training pigeons. Have you ever heard of that?
I
Is
have
that for
never heard of
real?
that.
He's a huge dude. He's into like racing pigeons, like legit, like he's deep in the pigeon game. As deep as
People
anyone.
race pigeons?
Oh yeah, dude. Very serious. Dude, those pigeons go for a lot of money, bro. Like there's some like the secretary. If you have like the Secretariat of Pigeons, that's a expensive bird. I'm telling you right now, dude. Google it
Oh
up.
my god,
Huh.
the Secretariat of Pigeons.
That's right, dude. And
Like I needed another rabbit hole to go down.
yeah, today's the day, dude. And if you have the Secretariat of Pigeons and you want to draft best ball with us via birds, hit me up. All right.
Yeah. Well, can we do a best ball pigeon draft? Coming up.
Yeah, our producer in the chat saying he had a cartoon where he was a detective with a talking pigeon. So he knows what I'm talking about.
Wow. Yep. Rabbit hole opened.
It's open. Never be
Awesome.
closed.
So what are we going to do with the $3 million when we win this, guys?
You know what we're doing. Racing pigeons.
Now we are.
I think that's a perfect caveat.
A stable. If we could do it with $3 million, dude, I'm definitely getting myself a high-end carrier pigeon, homing pigeon.
Yeah, the best pigeon money can buy.
Yeah. Do you think that? I wonder what the distance is. I wonder if I could send you guys like notes from Boston to the Dakotas. Do you think that's possible?
We should try it.
I mean, there's only one way to find out, right?
Only one way. We got to win this tournament.
Yeah.
All right, take us out, Kev.
You're leaving it to me, huh? Well,
Yep.
All right, fine. Well, of course, this is our maiden voyage on Better Sports. So certainly thank you to everybody there and Fantasy Alarm as well. We will be here at 1:00 Eastern every single Tuesday. So I'm excited. We're all excited. For Andrew Cooper, for Britt Flynn, I am Kevin Tompkins, and I will lead us out by saying toodles.